Welcome to the first episode of Founder Friday. I'm experimenting with this type of content where I just sit on the microphone and I talk to you about my week as an advisor at startups.com, as a founder, someone who's running a venture studio. I'm not going to introduce myself. You can check out my channel. This is for my community, the audience who's been following me, who's been spending time with me here on YouTube. And I want to talk to you today about something that occurred to me yesterday, and it's all about how founders pitch investors and advisors. Let me set this up. Yesterday, I spent time, about a couple hours, with the local incubator program with the university, and we had a room of about, 50, maybe 75 founders, smart individuals, founders here locally in my city who are trying to make a go of it. And I walked them through our pitch deck perfection course. And it was a workshop. So I walked them through problem, solution, market, slide. And then I shared examples and I gave them my tool, which is the Startup Early Stage Funding Canvas. And I tried to answer as many questions as possible. Inevitably, what happens is that founders then come up to me after, during some networking time. They ask if I can spend some time with them, if they can pitch me, whatever. They just spend time and they tell me who they are and what they're doing. And this is the fundamental problem, because if you come up to me, I don't have time for coffees and meetings with founders. I just don't have the time. And I'm very upfront about that. I don't have the time, but contact me on LinkedIn. I'll try and connect you with the resources. But I do have time if I want to make time. And that's just the reality of it. But the problem and the mistake that most of the founders, I would say 99% of those conversations were all about the founder trying to pitch me their solution, telling me they've created a solution that does this and it does that. And they spend time trying to justify the solution, trying to impress me that I might spend some time with them, or they just flat out ask me, do you want to invest? Can you introduce me to other investors? And this is a challenge. Why? Because not a single one of them started off explaining to me the problem. They didn't share that they had insight into a problem, or this is the problem that they're trying to solve. Instead, it was all about the cool solution. And you know what? Maybe they do have a cool solution, but I'm not going to be interested in helping a founder build a solution that's looking for a problem. And this is a common thing that happens. Founders have a difficult time. They either forget, maybe you're nervous, you're trying to impress the person you're talking to, that you understand the problem, that you're upfront of the problem. Now, you may say certain things like, this industry's fragmented or this industry's broken, but that's not a problem. You may say, everybody needs this solution, but that's not a problem. Tell me why they need your solution in particular, and show me that you are a thoughtful founder, that you have direct insight into the users, and tell me, is it an underserved, underappreciated, underrepresented problem? Because that's where all the amazing money exists. That's where you go unicorn, you create a new class of product, a new type of behavior, you disrupt the marketplace. That's not part of the conversation. And I just check out, because you have to understand, as an advisor at startups.com, or the chief strategy officer there, we have right now over 1,100 founders working on the same problems. Everybody's working on the AI for this, or back then it was the blockchain for that. They're all trying to solve climate change, the inequality, create CPG products. And I can throw a rock, and I'd say this all the time, that I can hit a dozen founders working on the same problem. Mind you, everybody's doing it a little bit differently, but nobody's actually telling me that they have a unique insight into the problem, or they have particular domain expertise. I'd rather have someone come up to me and say, well, Ed, I won the Nobel Prize for this, or I won the award for that, or I'm most known for this. And as I was studying, I realized there was a problem. I had a founder yesterday, and I got into a conversation with him, startups.com, and I really appreciate this founder, because I ended up pushing him, and I said, how do you know? This is what I always ask. I say, how do you know? And most founders can't tell me how they actually know it's a problem. But this founder said to me, I worked in the industry, and when I looked at what I was being asked to do, 65% of the time, it was to solve this problem. I was like, glory, hallelujah, I'm sold, I'm a believer, because now I know the founder is on the front lines with the problem. But I had to draw it out of him. I had to push the founders. So if you're coming up and you're talking to someone and you want them to legitimately spend time with you, and you want to impress them, and you're a startup founder, if you're at a networking event and you're pitching and you're doing sales, it's even the same principle. That's less important in those situations than if you're a founder, because The investor, the advisor, the mentor has heard it all. And if you tell me, listen, we are trying to make quantum computing a thing, that's another pitch that I heard. Very smart young man explaining, and it's exciting, but I don't know why quantum computing is important. I really don't. You could be working on the best technology in the world, and if you can't tell me why it's important and why it's a problem and how many people have that problem, I'm just not going to be interested. You're going to be a founder creating a solution, and you're constantly going to be looking for a problem because you're going to be pitching these problems or pitching your solution, and investors, everybody's going to tell you, what problem does it solve? And then you're going to doubt yourself and you're going to try and find all these other problems. I'd rather have a founder immerse themselves in the problem before even thinking about the solution. Because if your solution is wrong, your first hypothesis is wrong, which 99.9% of the time, your first hypothesis is wrong. Your first version of the product. Every time I came out with a product and I would do an MVP, I would test it and I'd be like, oh, okay, that was wrong. Not completely wrong. Wrong enough that I had to iterate, and I had to do that 100, 1,000 times till I got to what are the signs of what we talk about product market fit. You'd rather spend time working on the problem, immersing yourself in the problem. I knew a founder one time, and he was creating robotics and solutions for restaurants, and he ended up volunteering at a restaurant just to learn the flow and all the problems that happen. This is the reason I like to troll Reddit, and a lot of people don't realize this, but I get flamed all the time on Reddit. I get downvoted to oblivion. And I do it on purpose because I want to know what the problem is. I start saying things to understand the problem. And if people get mad at me, then that's a better sign. And I'm on the front lines. I read Reddit every single day. I scan it. I don't read it. It's quite frankly a very, very toxic place at times because everybody just seems to be very bitter and cynical on Reddit. But I read Reddit and I scan it to look for the problems that people are talking about. And that's how I make content. That's how I get on podcasts. That's how I become interesting to talk to people who want to hear my expertise, because I say, this is a problem I have seen on the front lines. When I am helping founders raise money, I see the problems up front. I see what the investors say directly. This is a problem. We are not going to invest because this is a problem. So I can say with authority to other founders and to people who want to invest with me, angel investors that want deal flow, I see this issue right up front and I have more exposure than other people. Therefore, I've got the domain expertise. And I talk about that before I start talking about the solution. Even if I do talk about the solution, I set it up with like 80% problem, 20%, and that's why we went to go solve it. And if you're interested, we think we have a unique way of doing it. Same thing with a consultation I went on. Old friend, helped him start a startup. It's gone 20 years. It was absolutely amazing. But I started asking lots of questions. I didn't tell him this is what I think you should do. I said, let me ask you a question. Why is it that you don't have social media or this industry doesn't have that? Because it just seems like it's a regular thing. Is it because you've got dinosaurs working in the industry? It's just something that doesn't work? Is it psychological? And I just asked a lot of questions. And by the end of it, I just said, hey, listen, get me a proposal on how you think we can work together. I didn't even tell him the solution. I explained to him how much I understand the problem, and I asked a lot of questions on the problem. And that's how you pitch. So think about the problem and talk about the problem, and try this next time when you're introducing yourself to someone that you want to talk to that you think can help you with your startup. Explain to them what you know of the problem, how close you are to it, maybe how you've experienced it yourself, and tell them the story. And this doesn't have to be long. This can be literally a 1-minute elevator pitch. I had this problem. It was very painful. I found out everybody else has a problem. I started talking to them, and then I create the solution. And then leave me hanging, and I'll say, well, what was the solution? Or make a promise and say, I think I found a unique solution. Talk about the problem. That's what's going to set you apart as a founder. And understand, it's not that I think you're a bad person if you've created a solution, you're looking for a problem. You're probably super smart. I'm talking to founders all the time, and how are you going to stand apart? Everybody believes they can become a founder, and rightfully so, between low code and no code and all the out-of-box solutions out there and dev shops and freelancers, everybody working in tech and all the tech workers getting laid off from their tech jobs. So they go into startups, and you're finding these co-workers, these co-founders, previous co-workers maybe, to work on your solution. There's so many of you out there that if you're all working on the same solution in the same industry, well, your insight in the problem is going to set you apart. There's your Founder Friday little chat. I'm hoping that if this gets good reception, I'll just sit here and talk every Friday and I'll debrief my week so you can come debrief with me and you can spend time with me like I'm an advisor in your room and we can just talk back and forth. And I'm going to be talking to you as the founder. Let me know your experiences through the week and I'll collect them and we can debrief them all together. Let me know what you're going through and let's build this community and have this conversation. And you can check out my other videos and take a look at all the other things that I'm doing. And I'll have more instructional videos, technical videos to help you. But let's spend Founder Fridays together and see where it goes. Thanks for listening. Thanks for spending the time with me. Thanks for all your support. Like, comment, subscribe, all that stuff. Do the YouTube thing. It super helps. I'll see you in the next video.